Our next speaker is connected from Switzerland. Jordi Montserrat is the co-founder and managing partner at Venturelab. Venturelab was created in 2004 to support Swiss startups. And in the meantime, I think about 90%, if I remember that correctly, of rising Swiss startups have received funding. Jordi will be able to tell us more about that from Venturelab. And they also have a very strong portfolio of pharmaceutical and life sciences, biotech startups in Venturelab. So we're curious to hear from you, Jordi, how organizations such as Venturelab manage to connect scientists and entrepreneurs. The screen is all yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the welcome. And yes, so joining from Switzerland, a warm welcome to everyone. Very happy to join you today. I was asked today to actually share our experience at Venturelab, how, particularly on the focus, how do we connect scientists with entrepreneurs, or how do we turn scientists into entrepreneurs? I don't change the title, but I think that's more what we do concretely here at Venturelab. And actually, we didn't finance all of them, but we can say that we have been some way or another connected and supporting with different tools about 90% of all the people launching startup. And you will understand during this presentation what we do and how we articulate a number of programs which are all aiming at supporting the best talent moving into the entrepreneurial career. And this is really the core of our focus here at Venturelab. I've seen a little bit of the prior presentation, and from the slide gathered, very impressive, of course, networks. I think that already a lot has been done, because for many, many years, a lot has been done now to encourage entrepreneurship. I think in Switzerland, we started very early with this objective, and maybe let me share just a little bit what we do and who we are. And I think everyone knows that actually the recipe, everyone has it today. There is no real secret in this one. It's not something you can patent like in biotech. The recipe is simple: create clusters, create innovation, have money, and particularly, of course, have talent that is able to drive this innovation, is able to bring it to the step of being a real, company. And we focus at Venturelab on startups, so really entrepreneurship, launching a new company in order to market this innovation. So if this recipe is known, the real question is what can you do and what can you bring into this equation? And our contribution is really the ambition, first, to bring real world-class startups out of Switzerland. We have always used that motto, using the Swiss type of quality. We have the chance to belong to a brand that can say Swiss made. We apply this as well to entrepreneurship. And with this application, we look for the quality for what we have to bring. It's as particular, and I think this really, having had the chance to travel around the world in innovation ecosystem, every ecosystem has its own capacity, has its own quality. Of course, some are best reference. Everyone will talk about the Silicon Valley or around Boston, and they have great arguments, but I think everyone has to find their quality and their own way to launch. That's what we did here at Venturelab using Switzerland. And here are a few lessons learned across around the path within or during these past years. So as mentioned, yes, we were born in actually 2004, out of an organization that already existed since 1989, who was called Institute for Young Unternehmers, so which is the Institute for Young Entrepreneurs. And from these, out of actually a national program for training of young entrepreneurs, it was sensitization and training, really deploying the message and that's the first message: entrepreneurship, launching your own company, is actually a real career. It's actually a viable career. It is as good, as recognized, and as fulfilling as going into, maybe even more fulfilling, I would personally argue, but that's of course open to always nice discussions, but to going into the industry. And that's really what we are encouraging, and fighting for the talent to take this avenue is the first step. Sensitization training. From these, we expanded on several programs. Today, our flagship, I will quickly describe how they fit into this puzzle. But from the training, we expanded into International Roadshow. That's our Venture Leaders platform. We take 5 times a year from the US to China. Our next team is going next week to the Mobile World Congress. We have a mobile team. We select startups in order to go represent Switzerland and as well, of course, learn from the best. We have set Venture Kick, very interesting program, 5.5 million Swiss francs being invested every year into young at the pre-seed stage into young talents across the board of high tech. I will speak about this. And finally, what I call the recognition, the lighthouse, the top 100, give visibility, credibility, and recognition to all of these startups which are creating, and particularly all of these entrepreneurs who are creating this wealth. So very concretely, we work as well with public and private partner. Venturelab is a private organization. We are a company. Our activity is to develop and to actually execute this program, and we find partners. These partners can be public, can be private, can be a mix of them. We're being mandated in order to operate this program and generate a maximum of synergies across all of these platforms. So from the entrepreneur point of view, it becomes sort of a menu where he can take what elements he really needs in order to launch, starting from being inspired, I have an idea, I want to create a first business plan, and eventually grow until I do roadshows in China. And you see here, we work at the national and global level, but always using Switzerland as sort of our carrier. We welcome international team. We also send our teams internationally. And this is the core of Venturelab, and I think really the platform working with public and private actors really create this transition already in our DNA, but also a message we can pass towards the startup. And from this, I think that here is really one of the core things that I am sharing with you, which I have been sharing with actually a lot of people since I started this activity. This slide actually dates back almost since 2004, because it was the core of how do you impact really long term. And the name of the game, because there is really, that's, I think, the principle of what we have been doing in bringing these scientists is first to identify a maximum of them. So the first thing is to increase the number of people who want to be in the entrepreneurship space, who are interested, who we want to give a chance to have a try at it. Let's be also clear, not everyone will make a successful startup. We're not passing the message that anyone can be successful entrepreneurs, but we're passing the message that if you want to try to be entrepreneur, build your company, it is a viable alternative, it is a try you can go for, and we will give you the tools and the material to make it viable and to make it realistic. Over time, we've developed the tools to improve this quality, to improve the ones, and also to select, to make the selection of which ones, and this is the principle, because not everyone will make a success, then you give a chance to the best ones to really go to the maximum of their potential, and the other you just simply support in admitting maybe the startup doesn't work, you have to go to another startup or to do another alternative, or just simply give a chance to make sure that also the best one get to the maximum of their capacity, and to accelerate their access to funding, accelerate their access to networks. And I think we all do this, we are all looking for this, but then it's really very concretely, what are the tools you can put in place to stress test the entrepreneurs, see if he's growing into this entrepreneurial mindset. And this entrepreneurial mindset, really the mindset, I think, is really at the core of our work. When we take people from the lab and we put them into this entrepreneurial space, it's really important that they understand what's coming up. You don't become entrepreneur overnight, but at least you understand what are the challenges ahead. What is your mission? What becomes your mission as an entrepreneur? And how are you going to build? And here, to build your company. And here it's an important point that people from the start set solid foundations when they form this company, when the founder come around, and then in order to be able to grow, to fund, to grow, to expand the company with solid foundations, having put in place a good DNA into the company and having proven yourself early on as an entrepreneur. And here we're always fighting, with this mindset chance, push the ambition, push the vision without having the people being fearing that they are claiming hallucination. The entrepreneurs or the scientists or the engineers, very often if they don't fully master something, they feel they cannot make the promise. So they say all of these it sounds a little bit like hot air, I mean, we're making hypotheses, and we're like, yes, you're helping envisioning. You have to come into this perspective of helping shaping your project, giving it a vision so we can give a try together and you can convince people to go along. And this is really the process that we're looking for. So it starts at our heart of our mission at Venturelab. It starts with an entrepreneur, and then we work on the process. Here, I always make a little parenthesis. I think biotech is a very specific area. I always have to make a disclaimer at this stage, particularly for the biotech area, because biotech is so strongly relying on an asset, really a biotech asset. You identify, your leads, or you have a unique platform. Quite often you can insource and you can put other people on that science. So you have sometimes more of a disconnect, if I may say. You can take the science and leave the scientists in the science and put other people with a lot of expertise in the biotech world on working on the development of this technology. It is one model. I mean, there are several models, to bring innovation to the markets. We do focus, however, very strongly at Venturelab on always keeping the entrepreneur at the heart of our action. So we identify and we take the scientist so that he also moves into the company. CEO, CTO, CSO, that's not the question at the beginning, but really that he takes, and in the same brain, there is the entrepreneurial mindset, the entrepreneur's mindset, and the drive, as well as the science. Then what do we do very concretely? First tool, I think it's really the training. We have here the chance to run a national program by vertical. It is 5 days in business creation, 5 days to create the business case, and 5 days in business growth. It's another training. This is supported by the Swiss Confederation, by the InnoSwiss. You heard several times this name already today. And this training here is really here to give the basics, the setting, the ground information, but as well tools. We call it mission driven. What is the mission that you will have to accomplish? What are the key points of your mission? And also to really connect. That's where we exchange. You had presentations from different networks. We're here connected, to all the different clusters. Basel was presented today, but there are these clusters around Zurich. There are these clusters around Geneva, around Lausanne, so around Switzerland, to make sure that these entrepreneurs are rapidly equipped with the tools, connected to the clusters. And as you see, the focus here is really, we have those 4 verticals, so really strong on high-tech, deep-tech science with a vertical specific to biotech, so that the principle, the essence of the biotech cases are also being addressed. Then the next step is, and here is one of our flagship program that we launched in 2007. It is fully supported by private donors. So it is really from donations and private individuals. And here we give up to 150,000 in a first step, and it opens the door to an additional 150 and 850,000 Swiss francs, so over 1 million can be accessed through this process. And we call it Venture Kick. So Venture Kick is really kicking the scientist out of his zone of comfort to make sure that he is forced, and this money is reserved exclusively for them to go and explore the business case. They have to use it for business development. So the process is relatively simple. We give 10,000 just for the idea, 10,000 Swiss francs, and we ask them to come back 3 months later and to give us the results. So of their market dive, of their market study, what have the network, what have the potential customer, the potential investor said, what is the feedback you get, and it is really forcing them to go out of the lab. When they receive this first 10,000, they have the chance to be able to apply to InnoBooster. And InnoBooster is an additional grant run by one of our foundation partners, Geberthof, and they can get an extra 150,000 Swiss francs. And this one will come as a grant to support the research for the technology to go to the market. So you see, you have 10,000 on the idea on the person, 150 who comes. And when they come 3 months later, if the jury thinks they are good, they can get another 40,000, and then they have 6 months. We set the timing. We tell them, you come back, don't wait. Just show us how you're progressing, how is your momentum, and they can get an additional 100,000. So it is 150,000 that goes directly to the entrepreneur. and they use it so really into the company, into the entrepreneur. If the company is not created, the entrepreneur receives it personally, giving him a chance to establish the market base, the business case for his company. To give you a few numbers, we invested almost 40 million in the past. So we're reaching now this year. It is still the numbers from the beginning of the year. We are at 38 million by now, a little past, that we invested over the past 15 years. Over 800 cases at 10,000. And then it has been really quite a ride with almost 600 companies. So in between each phase, we run Kickers Camp. This is 2 days where we really push, them to really out of their zone of comfort, go and explore. And they have those 2 days to focus on the execution. So we make it very sharp. And then, of course, you can see the results. We're quite happy to see that the companies have cumulatively attracted 4.5 billion by now. They represent over 8,000. And this is across the board. I invite you to go on the VentureKick website. You have the whole portfolio on our yearly report with all the numbers. The final point is at stage 3, if they get our stage 3 by the jury, it connect them directly that they can have access to an additional 850 from a new tool we have launched, which is called the Kick Fund. So for them, it's simplify, and this is the application of accelerating. It's like getting into the process. If you pass the stage, we help you really get into the funding. Additionally, I was talking internationalization. I'm very keen on this one. I think it is very important for all the teams and the entrepreneurs to expose themselves very early. So very soon we bring the teams across the globe according to their priorities. So typically the medtech and biotech team can go to the US with the technology. We organize those roadshow in technology, deep tech, biotech, medtech, mobile, as mentioned. We have also relations with some African partners. And here, the key point is very early on to first help those entrepreneurs dive into this ecosystem and basically benchmark themselves, but also to create teams. 10 entrepreneurs traveling together, they create links, and it will create for them this entrepreneurial network of people they can work with. And I'm a firm believer that those teams, and this is the feedback I get for a long time based on my personal experience, but also from all the people who participate, is these teams are really a long-term value that they really appreciate, to get the connection. So those teams are our venture leaders. And I like to illustrate these saying, by having your people going abroad. Today is soccer time, as you know, and basically I was looking at this progress. I took the Belgium team, and if you look at the Belgium team years ago, where they were very low into the rankings, they had over 50% of their people only playing in Belgium. Today, they rank amongst the best teams, and if you look, only 9%, 2 people are actually playing only in Belgium. The rest of them play abroad. I think we've all seen these, and in our own soccer teams. I am a firm believer this applies to entrepreneurship. Expose our entrepreneurs, send them in the best teams abroad, send them to read also internally, get them to the benchmark, and then, because it is a global game, then you help raising the full environment in which you are working. An additional thing that we've done for the past 4 years, it's the Scale Up Bootcamp. To have very early the connection of those entrepreneurs with the industry. So we organize half days or full days where we invite corporate and startup together in order to do accelerated matchmaking. It is not big fairs, because this is, of course, exists for many years. This is really pre-selection, predefined. We look at topics. You see here, it goes from fintech, cybersecurity, to clean tech, to digital health, to food. We shape those verticals, and we really look for these people into this area, the people looking for solutions in the corporates, and the advanced companies called scale-up. So they already have their product, they are already in the growth phase, and they work for the development of solutions, accelerating the access to the market. And finally, to mention, I think that's really a key point that we should never underestimate. Celebrate your entrepreneurs. Top 100 was born in 2011, and one part of the reason was sort of a frustration that we were experiencing with my partner Bea Chilig, who is my partner with Venturelab, and we were always hearing this, yeah, but there are very few startups in Switzerland, actually real ones, and they don't grow, and you know, all these comments that at some point were saying, well, it's not the case. I was creating rankings already, so listings, you know, of 100 startups, etc. So we decided to go for the top 100, and we launched these. So we were in our 11th edition this year, to be published September 8th, and we now have it in 4 languages. And the goal here is really to, every year we take out a ranking, but less than the 1, 2, 3, 4. The ranking, of course, is very nice to see who is first, and actually the ranking is decided by 100 experts. So we ask 100 experts around Switzerland to give us their top 10, and we make a ranking out, and those experts are actually investors, so they know where they invest and they like. But what is really important is the main message is really like, we have these 100 entrepreneurs which show impressive results. I mean, last year the top 3 already represented 200 plus jobs, and they have to be less than 5 years old. Less than 5 years old across the board. The rejoicing news was last year, it was even 2 women CEO and founder were on the top 1 and top 3. So you see, it's an opportunity to celebrate, to give the visibility. We have an investor day, we have an award, and really celebration. Some people come to me at the end and say, it's a bit like the Oscars. And I was like, yeah, actually somewhere it's this. It's give them the message that what they do is really important. And we repeat it, but it needs to gain additional recognition. So that's what we do. Eventually, it shows success journeys. I think we have a lot. I have a collection of slides like this, but this one is one I of course, really like. You might have loved it. It is in biotech. You might have heard of Amal, which was born in Geneva. Madia was a PhD in the Geneva University. She launched a first company. She did the venture leaders. During the venture leaders, she met people who helped us really shape better, connect. She found investors, finally launched Amal. Through a really nice growth, was even on the stage 7th at the top 100 ranking back in 2015 and so 17, sorry. And then she really grown all the way, had clinical collaboration, and was acquired. One of our big exits was acquired by Boehringer back in 2019. So as you see, it's really trusting the entrepreneur. I think that's really the key message that we have here. We have a lot, of course. We're tracking the funding. This is a bit the pipeline now of many of the startups, and there are many more. Actually, this one is back in 2019, so it's not even updated. Some companies like NB have done their exit already at 1.1 billion last year. So you see, you have quite a few, which are many of those companies. As said, all of them we either funded or we supported through a training, or some of them benefited from all the tools, and some others just took exactly what they needed. I'm concluding here. I think that's a little bit my message. I wanted to illustrate what we do. We work on the mindset. So Venturelab is really about identifying those talents and helping them grow and helping them access the tools, you know. So it's the mindset moving from science, and it's the same mindset that you find in being the best in science that you find in being the best in entrepreneurship. It's a numbers game. I showed you at the beginning. First thing is accept to increase the number, lose some of them, but focus on helping the ones who will really score the points. And finally, through all the tools that you're helping them, don't forget, empower, celebrate the entrepreneur. We give them visibility with the top 100 because they are the ones making it happen. I mean, we are here to support them. And of course, it is very important that we pass this message. I think I was a little bit over time. I'm sorry for this, but I want to conclude here, and thank you very much. Wish you all the best for the rest of your day. And of course, for those who need my contact, you can just scan this QR code. You will have my visit card here. And good luck for tomorrow's game. I think it's still soccer time, so I hope that everything goes well for Poland tomorrow.
Jordi, first of all, thank you very much for this impressive the presentation about Venturelab, and of course also for the Swiss recipe you are implementing with much success. So all the best for you and your team. and many greetings to Lausanne. It was perfect to have you here with us. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Wishing a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.